all over Africa and Egypt, and a lot of the Egyptian drawings and sketches and hieroglyphs and so on. You get a lot of scarab beetles, and you get a lot of different kinds, over 50,000 different species of dung beetles as far as people can tell. Now, that specific one we were looking at yesterday while it was rolling that ball along is this time of year, summer, is when they breed, and you get a lot of different sort of types of dung beetles again, or different groups if you want. Some of them, they just lay the eggs just inside dung anywhere. You get other ones that if this is your ground surface with the dung on top, they dig a little hole underneath and the dung all sort of trickles in there, and they get the dung inside and then they lay the eggs underground. And then you get these guys like what we saw, if I remember correctly, they're called telecoprids, which means that they basically they make a ball and then they roll it away. So they'll roll it for quite a long distance. One is maybe to get it away a little bit from the main dung so that there's not lots of other dung beetles competing with them. But also what happens is as they roll that ball along, they get little bits of sand compacting around the outside of the ball. So you've got the core or the nucleus of the ball that's all dung, and then you've got this hard crust of sand that cakes onto it, and that becomes rock hard. I mean, sometimes you find those balls with things like honey badgers, for instance, have dug them out, and they rock hard like a baseball or a cricket ball. And then they lay the eggs inside this. That one was probably maybe looking for a female still, unless she was already there and it left. Quite often you'll see the female sitting on the ball, the male will be rolling it along and she's laying an egg inside. And then later on they'll bury that ball. And I think why that guy was trying to get off the road is he was rolling it along, and it was obviously a very hard surface, and like we sort of said tongue-in-cheek, maybe he saw the Land Rover coming and decided I've got to get out of the way, but I don't think that was the reason. And it was just a very hard surface, so by trying to get off the road, trying to get somewhere a bit softer in amongst the grass, looking for a place where it could then dig a hole, which is quite another job. I'll explain a bit about that just now. But then they would bury that ball quite deep, maybe a foot and a half, 30 centimeters, 35, 40 centimeters underground. And then once they've buried it, they cover it up, and then that egg stays inside there for a while. And once the egg hatches, that larva then feeds on the dung, actually uses that dung as the early food, and then it uses that ball as a cocoon as well, if you want, or a pupa. And it goes into a stolysis inside, that time when the larva sort of changes towards the adult beetle, if you want, and eventually breaks itself open and digs itself out. So come early summertime, you'll often find places like rhino middens, for instance, or just up that side of the waterhole, there's a big rhino midden where the rhinos often mark. And by the end of winter, there's not that much dung anymore. And in early summer, when the rain comes, you suddenly see all these little holes coming out of the ground where the dung beetles burrow themselves out again. So I hope that answers most of those questions. What I was saying, what's quite interesting is when they bury these balls, now you can imagine the biggest balls I've seen are sometimes up to about that size, really large, like a baseball. But the ones you see getting pushed around normally are about that big. And they literally just dig a hole, like a spiral hole, all the way around underneath this ball. And slowly the ball just sort of rolls in and rolls in. It takes them quite a while. And yeah, I hope that answers the question. And if there's any other questions, maybe one more. I'm quite keen to cover some ground. We're getting towards sunset.
No, Peter, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Edwards and Miss Charlie and all the kids and everyone else that's with us. Let's go do what we do out here. Drive around and look for wildlife. Actually, let's take this other road.